Welcome to Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. Africa is yet to come to terms with yet another coup on the continent, this time in Guinea. Soldiers appeared on TV on Sunday afternoon claiming to have dissolved the government, stating rampant corruption, mismanagement and poverty as their reasons. The Defense Ministry, however, insists an attempted takeover had been thwarted by the Presidential Guard. Numerous reports say the coup was led by an elite unit headed by a former legionnaire, Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya. Events are still unfolding and we'll be here to take you through the issues. But this week on the program, we delve into the Tigray crisis in Ethiopia's northern region, a conflict which began in November last year when Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ordered a military offensive against regional forces. I'll be talking to Meaza, a Tigrayan human rights advocate based in Washington, D.C. That's Diplomatic Channel in a wrap. Let's check in on other discussions in diplomatic circles. We'll be right back. I want to bring in Meaza, a human rights advocate based in Washington, D.C. She's also Tigrayan. Welcome, Meaza, and thank you for joining me on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you so much for having me here today.
Let's begin with how you remember the crisis in Tigray starting.
Sure. So the ongoing genocidal war in Tigray started long before November 4. This is a genocidal war that was waged against the people of Tigray, our culture and identity, by Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, as well as the Eritrean dictator Isaias Afwerki and Amhara expansionist elites. This war was waged against the people of Tigray because these three main actors do not see a future for their narrow political narrative in Ethiopia in the presence of strong ethnic minorities like the people of Tigray, who take great amount of pride in their advocacy towards an inclusive Ethiopia, an Ethiopia that gives equal rights to all nation and nationalities in the country, and that assures a political arrangement such as the multinational federalism that Ethiopia has been known for the past 27 years, and also a group of people that take great amount of pride in assuring their rights to self-rule and self-determination. So because of this, the current Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, alongside the other actors I mentioned earlier, have been working towards subjugating and exterminating the people of Tigray for over 3 years, not only by blocking roads that connect Tigray to the mainland, Addis Ababa, but also by blocking foreign direct investment that could have gone to Tigray and create job opportunity for Tigrayans. At the same time, by selectively prosecuting Tigrayans in the Ethiopian nation, and also blaming all evils on the Ethiopian people, on the Tigrayan people, and also actively using state media to dehumanize and spread hate amongst the Ethiopian community towards Tigrayans. So because of this, there has been a very hostile environment for Tigrayans for the past 3 years. And to make matters worse, on November 4th, the Ethiopian Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed waged a genocidal war on the people of Tigray by inviting Eritrean troops, as well as drones that were sponsored by United Arab Emirates and Somali troops. Because of that, you see a very saddening humanitarian crisis that is unfolding now, claiming the lives of thousands and thousands of Tigrayans.
You've described the ongoing fighting as a genocide. You honestly believe that the Ethiopian government wants to wipe out the people of Tigray alongside the rebels?
Yes, with absolute certainty. Not only the actions that are being witnessed on the ground, but also the intentions of the Ethiopian government have been quite clear about the genocidal nature of what's happening. The Ethiopian government actually did very little to hide their intentions of wiping out the entire ethnic Tigrayans. In his visit to Tigray, the European envoy Finland's foreign minister, he told the UN and the EU in his parliamentary address that the Ethiopian government officials have actually told him that they have intentions to wipe out Tigrayans for the coming 100 years. So this is not something only Tigrayans are talking about, but also something that has been documented and witnessed by international actors such as the Finland's foreign minister. So what's happening is a genocide, because genocide is nothing but the intentional and purposeful destruction of an entire ethnic group. And Tigrayans have been subjected to such kind of activities through systemic starvation and weaponized rape, as well as destruction of all resources that were very beneficial to the survival of Tigrayans.
Now, the Tigrayan forces do claim to have also attacked the Ethiopian military, and they've accused the Eritrean forces also of killing, Tigrayans. But the government has denied this, saying it's only been targeting, the rebels. What are you hearing from, those on the ground about what exactly is going on? As I understand, there's very little communication coming out of Tigray.
Yeah, so because of the communication blackout that was sanctioned by the Ethiopian federal government, there hasn't been enough flow of information. However, international journalists as well as international aid workers were able to document testimonies of the genocide survivors that are currently either in the refugee camps in Sudan or also in different camps that are sheltering internally displaced people across Tigray. So the survivors have told us time and again that they were raped by Eritrean as well as Ethiopian troops and Amhara militias. They have told us how these forces of evil have actually destroyed their livelihood. They have burned crops. They have massacred innocent civilians, not only in their homes but also in place of worship. They have destroyed mosques. They have destroyed church. So what's happening on the ground is quite harrowing. People are being targeted everywhere. At the same time, there is just a new report documenting the harrowing reality in the western Tigray parts of Humora, how bodies were tied and they were tied their hands and they were massacred after that, and the bodies were fled to Sudan. So what's happening is really, really saddening. And the most really disheartening thing is that the international community is aware of what's happening on the ground. They know who's doing what, but they're not taking concrete steps towards ending the ongoing genocide. And in a way, they're emboldening the genocidal forces to continue committing war crimes and crimes against humanity upon the people of Tigray.
You've mentioned the international community. The UN has been advocating, for aid to get to Tigray. They say the Ethiopian military forces are blocking the only route leading to Tigray at the moment. But the African Union, which Tigray forces have said they do not trust, has already named former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo as AU High Representative for the Horn of Africa. He'll be resuming in, I think, a couple of weeks. What sort of perspective and solution do you think he could bring to what's currently going on?
The African Union has clearly taken sides with the Ethiopian government, and they have been, basically amplifying the propaganda that was being used by the Ethiopian government. They even called what's happening to the people of Tigray as a law and order enforcement rather than calling it for what it is, as a genocide. So I actually am not surprised if the Tigray government has a hesitation in believing or trusting the African Union. However, I want to make clear that His Excellency Obasanjo can do right by the people of Tigray, not only by taking the initiative, but also by calling out the African Union for all the mistakes that they have committed when it comes to the people of Tigray. I am not surprised, but I want to highlight how we're having this discussion at the backdrop of a very dire humanitarian crisis. People in Tigray do not have access to humanitarian aid because the Ethiopian government, alongside the expansionist Amhara elites, have blocked the road that connects Tigray to the rest of the country, and that could have been used as a corridor to deliver a life-saving humanitarian aid. Since August 20, there hasn't been a single truck that entered into Tigray with humanitarian aid. People in Tigray are not dying only of, the war planes and the drones, but also because of starvation and because of lack of medicine. So I want to make sure that we're having this discussion about peace and negotiation at the backdrop of people dying of starvation, of a man-made famine.
You do understand that there is, violence being committed on both sides, by both sides, beg your pardon. You do have the Ethiopian military forces, which you rightly point out are supposedly killing innocent Tigrayans in the Tigray region, but you also have the rebels who are killing, Tigray military forces. If I'm understanding what you're saying, Tigrayans want to be autonomous. Is that the point?
Tigrayans want to have their right self-determination respected. That is a constitutional right that people have fought for and paid with blood and flesh. So they want this right to be respected. We want to be administered by a government that we voted for and that we elected. We do not want an Ethiopia that imposes leadership upon us. That's not democracy. So this is the only thing we want. But with regards to allegations of the Tigray Defense Forces committing war crimes that the Ethiopian forces as well as the Amhara militia and Eritreans have been known for, I think the track record of the Tigray Defense Forces speaks for itself. The Tigray Defense Forces to date have been a very disciplined and well-mannered defense forces that do not really commit war crimes, that put the interest of civilians at the heart of their action. But if there are any allegations, the Tigray government and the people have been willing and are ready to work with any international organization that is interested in going to the ground and having an independent investigation that would look into any allegations of war crimes and that will bring about justice. So I want to make sure that the international community understands that the Tigray people and their defense forces alongside their government are willing and ready to work with the international community to bring light to any allegations of war crimes.
Well, it's been 10 months, I think, since you last heard from home. Are you reaching out to family members? Are you able to speak to them and find out how they're doing? I understand that this might be, quite hard for you, not being able to contact people at home as much as you can. So how has that been like for you?
I, alongside so many other Tigrayans in the diaspora, haven't heard from my family members that are currently in Tigray. And this is mainly because the Ethiopian forces, as well as their cronies, have blocked our communication channels. There are no phones, there is no internet in Tigray. And it's mainly because, all the public infrastructure has been destroyed because the Ethiopian government wants to hide all the war crimes and crimes against humanity that they have been committing against our people. So I do not know if my family members have been raped by one of the invading forces. I do not know if they have fallen victim to the massacres that have been apparent everywhere across Tigray. I do not know if they are starving to death or if they are, dying because lack of medication. So as somebody who is in the developed part of the world, someone who can actually do something to help my family, but because of the blockade, I cannot do anything. I just have to wait, sit and hope that my family survive all of this horrific reality. So it makes me feel helpless, but at the same time, I recognize that this is not just about my family members, it's about our collective identity as Tigrayans. And I hope and I pray that the international community summons all the necessary political will to intervene and do what's right to save innocent people that are suffering at the hands of genocidal forces.
Yeah, as our prayers and thoughts are also with you and with the people of Tigray at this time. No one wants to see another humanitarian crisis, especially in Ethiopia. Thanks again for joining me on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you for having me.
And this is where we end the program this week. Don't forget, you can watch it again on youtube.com/channelsweb. Just go to the playlist and search for Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.